This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, desperately seeking an Xbox, new games, and a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% on almost everything. To browse the products that are available, to see any deals that are going on, and of course, to learn about the discount, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Hello, Internet. Sorry for the interruption. I just want to let you know we're doing an audience survey to get to know you better, what you like, what you don't, what we might need to change. It's completely free. It takes about 60 seconds. If you go to PLUGHITZlive.com/audience and fill out the survey, you'll be entered for one of 2 CES prize packs with bags and shirts and a whole lot more. Again, it takes 60 seconds, PLUGHITZlive.com/audience. And now, back to the show. One of the big topics in technology as of late has been e-waste, environmental impact, things like that. We've seen the EU. Just a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the EU trying to standardize chargers for better or worse, with their focus being on environmental impact. Some companies fought it a little bit on other grounds, innovation in particular. But this week, Samsung has made a pledge that I found pretty interesting to reduce the company's e-waste in 2 different ways, both in the production process as well as in the sales process, essentially giving users the ability to repair their devices, which is something that you and I have lamented for a while. How many devices have gone to, totally unrepairable or repairable only by a small group of people. They've teamed up with, I think, iFixit to bring repairs. So therefore reducing e-waste. Also, they're reducing carbon emissions during their production and shipping processes, and promoting transparency throughout the process to show where there are places where they're failing or succeeding. I think this is a good move for them. I think it makes sense in the current economic and social climate. And of course, it's good for the planet.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Samsung's definitely not alone in this.
Mm-hmm.
We lately have had a few meetings with Lenovo in CES timeframe and MWC timeframe, and they were on an episode of the Tom's Hardware Show about a week and a half ago, talking about how much they are doing with, I guess, just environmentally conscious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things they're doing include a lot of the using a certain percentage of recycled materials for parts of the laptops, like the lid and the chassis, having e-waste collection programs to collect laptops when you're done with it. Although this seems to be something that they're doing mainly with large clients. So if I want to recycle my ThinkPad, they don't really have a program for that. They also are doing a lot with packaging. So some of the packaging that used to be like plastic is now either all cardboard, or actually some of it is made out of biodegradable sugar cane. And so like it used to be, for example, a lot of laptops, they come in a package and there's like a little handle on it, and
Right.
the package might be cardboard, but inside there might be plastic stuff holding the laptop in place, there might be the handle,
Mm-hmm.
might be plastic. Now they're replacing that with like a paper handle, and inside is only cardboard stuff or sugar cane or whatever. It's no plastic, right? Also, they showed on our show that they are experimenting with different materials for the lid, and they asked I kid you not. They showed they showed a banana husk lid and asked whether you would um, asked folks whether they would buy a ThinkPad that had a lid that was made out of banana husk.
All right, when we're talking about banana husk, are we talking about like the bark on the tree or the yellow skin on the fruit?
Not yellow skin. It's I think it looks more like bark. Here, I can. This
Okay,
isn't a great image, but if you want, I actually have a screenshot up. I can show you of the ones that they were showing. So hold on a moment, and I will.
excellent.
Oops, and I will show everyone. Uh, so this was the episode where they showed it on our show, and you can see the one on the
Okay,
right is banana husk. I forget what the one on the left was, uh, but these are yeah, these are things that they're experimenting with. They didn't say they're actually going to come out with it, but
sure,
they
sure.
but I don't know. What do you think? It's not the peel.
Okay. Well, that's the important part for me because the peel of a banana freaks me out. But you know, I've enjoyed textured cases on stuff. I had on one of my Surfi, I had a bamboo uh, thing on it. I also had one on an Xbox. I like the aesthetic. I don't at all mind, especially on the outside like that. Don't mind a texture to it. And if it's a more renewable kind of a thing, why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't know. I like the one on the right. I like the one on the right a little better, but still, I still kind of would just want my regular ThinkPad to be honest. But you know, it's not a bad idea. It's
Sure.
okay.
And
Uh,
experimenting
I
with
mean, I
odd things is sometimes what leads you to the correct thing,
yeah,
whatever that is. So, you know, whatevs.
yeah. I mean, I think the bigger issue is, being able to use recycled metals and things like that
Yeah.
for things like the circuit boards and stuff like that. He was actually talking about how they were doing using a lower heat soldering process, I think. So it's easier to recycle stuff,
Hmm.
I think. Maybe easier to unsolder. I'm not really sure, but
Okay.
they were so they definitely. I guess my point is Lenovo's certainly very into this, and I asked Tom Butler, the guy who's sort of in charge of ThinkPad, why are they doing this now? And he said, besides just like, hey, we think this is a good thing to do as a company, he said there's demand for it from clients.
Okay.
Now, who are clients? It's probably not like me buying my one ThinkPad every few years.
Right.
It's companies that are buying, thousands of them and want to be able to say to to investors and the public, like,
Mm-hmm.
look how green we are. So,
Yeah.
so obviously that's an appeal.
And whose purchases might be scrutinized towards a carbon neutral
Yeah,
rating and things like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So for those reasons, I still think though that it is way too difficult to recycle electronics. It is way too difficult to recycle. There's like there's not really an easy way to just like drop off your old electronics to be recycled somewhere. Batteries are nearly impossible to find a place to recycle. Like
Yeah.
in my town, I think every like 3 months they have an event where you can drive out and drop off your e-waste. Like, thanks a lot. That's one
Yeah.
Saturday every quarter or something. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a very
The loss of Radio Shacks, probably for me the biggest loss of that was the loss of a place to drop off batteries.
yeah. I mean, the Best Buy around here has some sort of bin in the front, which I guess you might be able to go drop. But like, it's just they don't make it easy on you
Yeah.
to and there's all this stuff that's going out, it's going in landfills, whatever, but they really don't make it easy on you to recycle. The other thing, of course, that you could be very critical of a company like Samsung for, though, is having phones that wear out. I mean, the best way to reduce e-waste is don't get new stuff.
Right.
Don't need new stuff. I mean, that's sort of contrary to our ethos as tech journalists, of course, but and contrary to fun in life.
Sure.
But I mean, what's better than picking pieces out of something and trying to recycle it? Having somebody be able to use it for another year or two or three.
Exactly.
So uh, repairing stuff, being able to replace the battery on your phone, things like that. Especially now that we've really hit a point in electronics where you don't need to replace things as frequently as you once did. I mean,
Yeah.
they hate, manufacturers would hate to hear it, but like there just isn't. It used to be like every year or two you really had to replace your phone or else you were missing out. Now, I mean, there's incremental improvements. I certainly, if you were on 4G and now you're trying to go to 5G, that's something to do. But like there's realistically you could hold on to a phone for 3 4 years easily.
We have an interesting comment in the YouTube chat. As long as manufacturers insist on having a crib to grave monopoly on devices, e waste will continue to get exponentially worse. I don't disagree with that. You
What
know,
is a crib to grave
that
monopoly? You mean because you
that
can't modify it?
they own the device from the time it exists to the time that it doesn't. Apple devices, for example, a number of Android devices, a lot of Android devices, unless you go to the trouble of rooting them. Uh, you know,
That's true. I mean, and it's true. The person, the commenter makes or I don't know if they were meaning to make this a good point about like software, right? So software could be a great cause of software lack of software updates can be
mm-hmm.
a great cause of e-waste. We were talking about this, I think, a few weeks ago when it came to like Windows 10 and Windows 11, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
of the devices that are going to lose Windows 10 support in a few years that are probably still going to be good, and those are going to either there needs to be a solution for them or they're going to end up as e-waste.
mm-hmm.
And
We
then
talked
you
about how
take
Google was had the Chrome OS, uh, for example, that the Chrome
right,
OS version to help support
but
that ecosystem.
Android, I mean, obviously we have some Apple takes a lot of blame here too, but like Android devices, I think usually they say, hey, we're going to give you one or two major version updates and then you're done.
Right.
Now, one could argue that you don't actually need to be on the latest version of Android to have a decent experience using your device. Like
Sure.
there
As time
maybe
goes
there's security
as time goes
patches,
on, you have to be more careful about security. But yeah,
right? But I mean, like, do you really need to be on Android, like the latest Android to? I mean, the differences between one Android and another are so subtle now. Do you really need to be on the latest one?
right.
You don't. So, I mean, it's it's an interesting question. I think the economics of the situation make it more likely that people are going to hold on to devices anyway because if
Especially
your
right
thing
now.
is doing what you need it to do, why would you, why would you spend the money? Uh, I mean, we know in our business we've had talks with manufacturers who say like they th- we've had talks with folks in the industry like, oh man, we don't like desktops because desktops last forever and laptops wear out,
Right.
right? I mean, you can hold on a laptop several years, but like a desktop, you could be using a desktop 10 years or something, and it's probably going to be okay. I mean, depending on what you want to do with it, right?
Right.
So it I mean, in a sense, a desktop is actually more eco-friendly than a lot of other things, because if it's something where you can do an incremental upgrade on it, then
Right.
you can make it useful for you for quite a while longer. So, I mean,
So,
I don't know what to say.
cont-
Yeah,
continued comments from YouTube. Your device isn't meaningfully repairable. And Apple is about to launch an option where you just straight up don't own it. Imagine if instead of having 1.7 million ish dead MacBooks with still useful chips on them that could be recycled or upgraded, instead, an extremely high percentage simply becomes e waste. And to your comment, but the whole laptop doesn't wear out, which brings us right back to what Samsung's saying here with their partnership with iFixit, is that they want their devices to be more repairable. Now, we've got a right to repair thing about to kick in Europe, which might be driving some of this. The Library of Congress is kicking around the right to repair stuff here, trying to push it over to Congress itself to expand it beyond what it is. So some of this might be in line with what's happening on those topics. But yeah, that's exactly what we were saying. The laptop wears out, but it doesn't, right? The laptop doesn't wear out. Some component of it wears out, but unlike your desktop, if the hard drive dies, hard drive's a bad example. If the processor starts to go or something happens on your desktop, you can go get another one. But on your laptop, not so much. Certainly not economically, because you probably have to take it to somebody. Probably has to be a
right. Yeah,
Samsung
yeah.
certified place or
Also,
an Apple certified place. And when all is
yeah,
said and done, it costs as much as getting a new laptop.
yeah, exactly. They don't make it easy on you, especially. I mean, if your laptop is a point where it's too slow, but hey, I want to upgrade it.
Mm-hmm.
I still love the keyboard and the screen, but just give me a faster processor. There's no way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah, it's the cost of replacement parts can be quite prohibitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Because
want to get a
because they're
new
not designed to do it.
right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think it was. I mean, I liked it when you were able to remove your own batteries on your phone.
Oh.
I I'm still not happy. I mean, in a sense, it's hard to say who's at fault here. The the manufacturer's at fault for making phones that are now sealed in and you can't replace the battery.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, there's ways to do it, but it's very difficult and they're easy
Right.
to break your stuff. On the other hand, uh, the the public is at fault because they gave the public what they wanted in a sense, right? They wanted thinner and lighter, and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
care
Right.
about things like ability to replace batteries. So, that's it's there's a lot of fault to go around,
Sure.
and if you were a company that wanted to stick with something that made your device thicker and more repairable, then you're at a competitive disadvantage.
Right.
So,
From Twitch chat, miss that being able to remove the battery. Yes, we all do. And
yeah,
I had it again, right? Because when I went into the Windows Phone ecosystem, I from where I'm sitting, I'm looking at a whole bunch of my Windows phones at the back were still removable up to Windows 10 Mobile, right? I can see a Lumia Windows 10 Mobile that I could pop the back off and change the battery on, which, when that came to an end, it made me even more sad. You straight up cannot buy some of the chips from the manufacturers. True, that's what we were just saying. Not the phone manufacturers for sure. The actual chip suppliers, the companies have exclusive sales agreements. That's true too. So that's what I'm saying. It's not designed to do it. So even if you could get them, they're cost prohibitive for other reasons. But yeah, so the idea that Samsung wants to make this stuff possible, the repairability, which thank goodness, because I think we're all ready for that. Plus, the whole maker movement is really kicking into high gear, right? We've talked about this for the last couple of years, Avram. We've seen more
Yeah.
people messing around with more things. It's why you have a whole show dedicated to Raspberry Pi. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
people are wanting to build things, they're wanting to fix
Yes,
things, they're trying to
this
convert a
is
thing to a thing.
this is true, but as far as I have seen, no one has created a Raspberry Pi powered phone.
Sure.
Uh, if they did, I would probably carry it, no matter how clunky it was. I would just to
Agreed.
make a point. I would almost certainly carry it around. But yeah, so you don't see
So we have a
that. The
project.
other,
Got it.
eh, yeah, hey, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I mean, I think that's really difficult because you have to the integrated radio. Um, I mean, the size of you would probably use like the compute module, let's say compute module 4, which would be the Raspberry Pi 4 on like a SODIMS size thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it would be quite large. I mean, there's a Raspberry Pi powered tablet you can get that is super thick. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not made for that for it's just not made for that purpose. But I was thinking of e-waste. There's something in my drawer here. I want to see if I can dig out. Here's a great example of e-waste. Now, I bet there's a way to make use of
Ah,
this again, but not
I
officially,
I knew that's what you were about to pull out.
right? So, Pebble smartwatch for those not remembering, right? Perfectly wonderful, a wonderful piece of hardware. Color e-ink display, nice, soft, whatever, red wrist strap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pebble goes out of business.
The
No
end.
more, no more support.
Yep.
Uh, how many things do you own that
Oh,
that are dependent on a cloud service, where the cloud service, if the company goes out of business, the device is a brick. It is
yeah.
useless.
I I got we at Radio Shack we sold this thing. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a little screen that popped up and it had streaming something on it. Don't entirely remember what it was, but it was a little computer with an LCD screen with Wi-Fi built in that when the company went out of business, all of a sudden these things were absolute garbage. There was nothing that could be done with them. And I collected a bunch of our store demo units because I was like, there's too many of these things. Somebody's going to figure out how to put something else on it, and they did. Eventually, somebody came out with an Android ROM for them, and so I basically turned these things into little Android streaming devices, which were fantastic. And if somebody would put a more modern version of Android on it, I might be able to get it to mimic a Stream Deck today.
You know what? A lot of people there's I always believe at this point for a while, but there's two things I see going on that also are probably good for the elimination of e-waste. One is folks who are in the maker community taking things like that and not only making software for them, but sometimes taking them apart and like salvaging the screen or
Hmm.
salvaging something like that, desoldering it. Reminds me I have to get a good solder sucker so I can get some solder out of things. The other that I see is a great interest in retro tech, but this doesn't really apply to something like a phone from 5 years ago. Nobody cares about that. But the amount of
But maybe a Pompery.
love, yeah. I mean, that's not 5 years. That's like
Right, that's
10,
13.
15 years.
2009.
Right. Yeah. So, but you see things like, I've interviewed on my show, on my Tuesday show, a guy who's running like this massive like retro museum in England where he's just collecting all kinds of um, old computers and old game systems. I know a lot of people who are like, including yourself, I think, who are like retro collectors of stuff. So
Absolutely.
uh, old old computers and old video game systems, old to a certain age, and uh, are in some demand because they're
Yeah.
classics, sort of like a classic car.
Hmm.
So that keeps them out of the landfill.
True. I have
But
way too many.
but it depends. You have to have something that's somewhat unique, right? Nobody wants like a gate. No one is nostalgic for like a gateway from like 1998. They
Right.
want, a
Elisa.
Commodore 64 or something, or an Apple Lisa, because those were groundbreaking computers. If it was something that was just like one of many that did the same thing,
Hmm.
nobody cares.
Right. But something that was either visually or technologically revolutionary. I've got, I've got a first gen iMac. I've got one of those weird Mac Pros with the big steel handles on it, and the the one that looks like the lamp from the Pixar logo.
Yeah.
The
I
college
still
dorm
want
lamp.
I still want someone to bring back the iBook. Yeah.
Like the colorful
Yeah.
clamshell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
I'm not an Apple person, but I liked I thought that was kind of cute.
I know. I loved those things. They were a cool design, and as people know about me, I think everybody knows, our regulars know about me. I am a fan of colorful technology. I am looking at, for where I'm sitting, a couple of red phones, a couple of blue phones, and a white phone, not the company blue, but the color blue. Uh, I have always liked I've always liked, colorful technology. Um, I, we've talked in the past about how if the Surface laptop in blue didn't have that horrifying carpet feeling keyboard, I'd probably have one sitting here on the desk right now. So yeah, I would be all about bringing back that 90s style semi-transparent weird color laptop. Oh, I'd have one tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's good to see, and we've hit a nerve. There's stuff happening in the YouTube chat right now, more than we can sit and read out loud. But if you're not watching live, you should be able to go over to the YouTube channel and see what's happening, talking about, changing, people being more aware of how to manipulate electronics and all of that. So it's an interesting conversation. Definitely go check it out. But we're going to keep an eye on the Samsung thing, the Lenovo thing, see how the industry goes with this, and see how it goes in the marketplace. Because when it really comes down to it, that's the thing that will decide whether or not the trend continues, is whether or not it helps with sales, which obviously you and I and both chat rooms are saying that they are totally in favor of, is the ability to repair things and keep things going longer. So everybody listening, Apple engineers, are you hearing us that we want to be able to change batteries and things? We're all on board? Got it. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.